And after Harvard, I stayed in China for half a year, just to do some my project. So by that time, it's also thanks to Harvard, I met another classmate who wanted to do a startup. So that's how I started my first entrepreneur journey back in China with this classmate from Harvard. And what we did by that time was a summer school camp, like to help high school students to learn about college major in advance so they can have a better understanding about the major, what it is exactly. And once they go into uni, they will have a better sense whether it's for me or not. So that's kind of the first entrepreneur project I did back in China.
Hello, my name's Jenna. I'm an online primary tutor, and today I'm talking to Jan, who is a Harvard graduate and CEO of Funclass, an online learning platform. Today's video, we are going to be talking about how to become an online tutor who works with the Chinese market. Thank you very much for joining me today, Jan.
Hi, Jenna. Hi, everyone. It's a great honor to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, we came across each other on LinkedIn. We connected through someone called Sandra, who's a lovely, lovely friend and has been very, very good to me personally. And obviously, you work with her as well. So we're
Yes,
very chuffed with our friendship connection.
exactly.
So I asked you after actually attending one of your trainings, which we'll go on to in a little bit about one of your businesses.
Yes,
And I asked if you'd come and chat to me because online tutors are always looking to spread their wings and work the Chinese market. And
yeah.
you've got a lot of background with this. So first of all, let's talk about your background. Let's talk
Hmm.
about your growing up and what it was like. Where are you from? And what
Yes.
were the expectations like for you as a child in terms of your education?
Yeah, great. So, as you might see, I'm originally Chinese, as I'm from China, Shanghai, but currently I live in London. So I grow up in the Chinese public education, which means the competition is really ferocious, I have to say. And all of the students are competing for the college entrance exam. I don't know whether you have heard of it. It's kind of the most important exam in your education life to go to the best university. Yeah, so
Fantastic. Oh, wow.
yeah,
So it's quite intense from a very young age.
exactly. And from my age, like my generation, a lot of students have um, hours and hours after school tutoring in order to improve their grades, just to have higher level in their final exam in that college entrance exam I just mentioned previously. So yeah, the Chinese education is very competitive because there's very limited amount of people who can go to the best universities. And the Chinese parents, families, they really, really value their children's education. So that's why they would invest a lot of money into the children's tutoring.
And so, at what point throughout your younger education did you think, I want to work in education? This is for me, this is my journey.
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, the first time when I became a tutor was when I was 18 years old, after I finished my college entrance exam. So that was a summer holiday. I no longer have to do my homework. So I thought, well, since now I have 2 months of summer holiday without any homework, why not like making some pocket money, right? So that's how I got introduced into the tutoring world. So I started with one of my mom's friend's children who was in primary school, I remember, and then I tutored him English. So that was the first time I became a like a homeschool tutor, and just it makes me feel so satisfied and proud when I see the child makes progress and the child says just, I really enjoy your class. And that like kind of enlightened me as a early educator, and that's how I got into education because I really really appreciate this kind of way to have a positive impact on other people's life through education.
And what did your tutoring at that point look like? Was it face to face? Was it
Yeah.
online?
Yeah, but that time it was face to face. So I went to the student's home and then tutor him mostly about homework, and also some of the school. like English they learned, and then that he might have some questions, and then I would just help him answer the question, etc. So by that time, my tutoring was mainly like schoolwork oriented, like helping the child to finish the English homework, etc. But right now, what I tutor is English literature. So basically, I lead seminar discussions with my students on some classic English literature books, for example, Harry Potter, and then for the older ones, I read George Orwell's Animal Farm, 1984 with them, etc. So that's what I tutor right now.
Oh, that's lovely to see the progression, and we'll go into more detail about that
Yeah,
in a little bit.
absolutely.
Thinking about your formal education and what you did. So I'm just going to refer to my notes because I don't want to get it wrong. So tell me about your Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Linguistics that you studied. Positive things that you loved about it, things that weren't your cup of tea, possibly.
Yeah, so my undergrad was in Shanghai. It's a university called Fudan. It was a top three university in China, and my major was English literature and linguistics, as you already mentioned. The main reason why I chose this major is because I'm always fascinated by language learning, and to be honest, I am a language learning nerd. I've learned six different languages. So Mandarin is my native language, English, Spanish, French, Japanese, and a little bit Italian. So that's why I majored in linguistics because I'm just fascinated by learning languages and I want to further delve into the linguistic part just to learn more about the theories of linguistics. And to be honest, that's also related to my current job. Well, this is aside from my tutoring and Funclass, which is a language learning app called Memrise. So I'm the content manager plus Asian language specialist.
Oh, wow, you are definitely a busy bee. Definitely. Do you think
Yeah.
you can just pick up, because my cousin is a bit like you, he can pick up any language and it's just very natural for him. So do you think that's
Mm,
obviously you're very studious and that kind of thing, but do you think it's you've got a natural ear for it? And that's why
mm,
you can also pick it up quite quickly if you can
yeah.
learn so many. Because my brain would just be like, whoa, hold on a minute. What's going on?
Well, I don't consider myself especially gifted for learning languages. I think language learning is just a human innate capability. It's just like you learn your native language. The key is to be immersed into the target language you're learning and then try to use that language and then integrate it in your life. It's not just for exams, but actually you need to actively use it. Let it be communicating with the people around you who speak that language or just to listen to some podcasts or watch videos in the language or read books. Yeah, so that's actually a very effective way for you to learn a language naturally. Of course, it depends on how much commitment you put in learning that target language, right? A lot of people, again, they just learn English probably at school, and then they don't see it as something they can actually use in daily life. Instead, they see it as just part of the exam. And then once they finish education for college, whatever, and then they just stopped learning the language. I see it as kind of waste of effort and time because language learning can actually be very fun. It's a way for you to open the world, to open the door to another world because you can use the language to learn a lot of culture behind it and get to know the
Yeah.
people and then learn a lot of like a literature behind it. So yeah, that's kind of my language learning method. Instead of learning the grammar, vocabs, etc., just to immerse yourself in that target language.
Now, you've also studied at Harvard, and when I went to your training, I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh my goodness me!" So you did a Master of Education at Harvard. How
Exactly. So
did that come about?
that's why I have a little bit American accent. It's been 2 years since I lived in the
Oh,
UK, but still, yeah, I can't really get rid of my American accent.
and was that a culture shock?
Um,
Harvard.
I wouldn't say so because I always consider myself a very open-minded person. I don't think I'm
Okay,
a traditional Chinese who is usually, more conservative. I would
okay,
say, yeah, I'm very open-minded and I'm more like a westernized
right.
Chinese, I have to say. So not really a cultural shock for me. Here in London, I feel like I'm so well integrated into the city as well.
Oh, wow. But what about your actual Master of Education? How did that go?
Yeah, so I have to say, even though it's a only 1 year program, it is probably the most practical and hands-on program I've ever done in my education life. So basically, we learned a lot of like a practical theories, how to teach a language effectively, because my program is specifically about language and literacy. And since I am a language learning nerd, I've already mentioned before, and also I'm a language teacher, so we learned a lot of like hands-on strategies, how to teach a language effectively, especially to ESL learners. So one of the key things is actually called project-based learning. I don't know whether you have heard about this concept. So instead of learning the language itself, you use the language in a context by doing a project with the people around you. So in that way, you're kind of learning that language in a very natural and implicit way. But at the same time, you actually develop more interest into it instead of like learning the very boring grammar, vocab, etc. Yeah. So I would say my entire year at Harvard was very fulfilling and I've learned so much from it.
And did you leave straight away then? Or did you
What do
stay on for a bit longer after Harvard?
Yeah, it's just like 1 year program. And after Harvard, I stayed in China for half a year, just to do some my project. So by that time, it's also thanks to Harvard, I met another classmate who wanted to do a startup. So that's how I started my first entrepreneur journey back in China
Ah.
with this classmate from Harvard. And what we did by that time was a summer school camp, like to help high school students to learn about college major in advance so they can have a better understanding about the major, what it is exactly. And once they go into uni, they will have a better sense whether it's for me or not. So that's the kind of the first entrepreneur project I did back in China. Yeah.
And is that still going on?
Well, unfortunately, no, because by that time, yeah, first of all, because of COVID, so we
Oh,
were
lovely
not
COVID.
yeah, we were not able to organize this kind of large in-person meetings or activities. And secondly, it's also because the double reduction policy, which I talked about in my previous
Mhm.
webinar, which is the kind of it, it limits hugely on the after school tutoring, etc. in China. So it wasn't very easy for us to develop the business. So we only did it for 1 year. But yeah, during the 1 year, we did launch two summer camps successfully in
Oh, wow.
China. Yeah.
I know, I don't know why, but I didn't associate China as having summer camps because you always hear of America having summer camps and that kind of thing.
Hmm. Of
Um,
course, in China, you do have that too. Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So then after that point, did the tutoring then come back up again?
Well, actually, I've never stopped tutoring. Even though,
Oh, okay.
yeah, even though I was doing my first entrepreneurial project, I was still continuing tutoring during the weekends. So it's something ongoing in my life. I've been doing this for more than 8 years.
Oh, wow. And so you mainly focus on Chinese, working with
Yes,
Chinese students.
exactly. My students are exclusively Chinese.
And was that a conscious decision or did that just naturally happen?
I think it's more like a natural thing because I started with the people around me. As I said, it's like kind of the children of my parents' friends. And then I gradually build my word of mouth, and then they just refer to other parents about me. And then that's how I got my Chinese students.
Oh, that's amazing. Tutors always say about word of mouth because once people know, then
Yes.
it's people start like passing on your details, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what have been the positives and sometimes maybe the challenges of working with the Chinese market
Mm,
recently?
yeah, that's a great question. I think overall, the Chinese parents usually have very high expectation
Mhm.
of the tutor service and also the progress that the child can make by having the class with you. So when working with the Chinese families, I always have to provide a lot of extra material for the child to learn and also prompt the feedback about the child's learning progress, like how the student is doing in the lesson, what are the areas that the child is good at, and what are the areas for improvement. So yeah, it's kind of very demanding to serve the Chinese parents because their expectations very high.
And what advice would you give to a totally new tutor, possibly an international
Hmm.
tutor who's starting to work with Chinese students?
Yeah.
What would be your initial advice to that person or
Yeah.
those tutors?
Yeah, that's a great question again. So first of all, I think you definitely need to align your expectation with the parents' expectation. What are the parents expecting for from joining your course and whether you are able to fulfill that expectation. So I think this kind of alignment between the parents, of course, the children as well, and your expectation is super, super important. And sometimes the parents might just contact you anytime during the day, right? So whether it's something you feel like you're comfortable with, if
Mhm.
not, then you need to set the line with the parent. Okay, this is my working time. So please contact me during this time instead of messaging me anytime throughout the day. Yeah, so I think it's very important just to be clear about the expectation from both sides. And also, as I said before, since the Chinese family usually have very high expectations, so I would suggest the tutor to kind of provide extra material for the child to learn outside of class, and also to provide very prompt feedback about the child's learning progress, so the parent can also develop more trust in you.
Thank you very much. That was really, really helpful. And one of the points you brought up was actually brought up in your webinar about making your
Yes.
expectations clear. Because I found that myself with working with Chinese families, you do
Hmm.
have to set the boundaries of, yes, I will answer you, of course,
Yes,
and
yes,
be in contact with you, but obviously time difference as well, especially when you're in England and everything.
exactly.
Because you can get
Exactly.
messages at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's not a time you want to be answering really when you're half asleep and you might not read the message
Definitely.
properly. So,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's always interesting. Now, you've talked about your one business that you set up in China. What was the
Yeah.
other one that you set up?
Yeah, so in China, I did two entrepreneur projects. The
Yeah,
first one is for the high school students, and
yeah.
the second one is for college students. So
Okay.
that one is kind of similar, but the idea is to help the university students to get to know about their future career in a better way. Because again, a lot of university students, once they graduate, they have no idea what kind of job they want to do in the future and whether what they're learning at a uni is actually helpful for their future career or not, right? This kind of like it's a common problem in China and probably in other countries as well. So what we did by that time is to connect the Chinese college students to a lot of companies that they might be interested in. So for example, I am a major, let's say, in finance, then I might connect you with some bank in China and then see whether that's something you would like to do in the future. We also organize some trips to the companies for the students kind of to interview the employees about their days, their work commitments, etc. So that's the second entrepreneur project I did. We serve as kind of bridge to connect university students in China with some companies to help them better develop a sense about their future career. So it's more centered on career development.
That's really good. That sounds like kind of what we do in England. When you're, I think it's year 11, so maybe 16. Not
Mm-hmm.
sure, but you have like work experience and you'll go and you'll
Mm.
spend a week or 2 weeks. I think they
Yeah.
still do that. I haven't been at school for a long time, but that's what we did. We went to a workplace for a week and you experienced it, but it was a lot shorter from what it seems that you provide. And again, do you still do that or has that finished now?
Yeah, that's also just like a half a year I did back in Shanghai, because again, that period of time was still COVID, so it wasn't easy, to organize this kind of in-person activities. And secondly, there was some, I would say, misalignment between me and my co-founder. So I think that's part of the reason why it didn't work out as well. So like to build a startup is not just about the project itself, right? The project
Mhm.
itself may sound very promising, very valuable, but also at the same time, like the relationship between you and your co-founder matters. If you turn out to be not a match, then yeah, the startup will eventually fall down as well.
I was going to say, because it's brilliant ideas, like there's that type of support. If you're ever to do it again, I'm sure you'd get a good response from it.
Yeah, but actually, the other reason is because I want to do something more scalable. So something I can try to use technology to scale the impact to all around the world, not just within my connection. So that's why right now I'm building Funclass, which is
Yeah.
an ed tech platform, right? So we want to use technology to scale the educational impact to all of the children in the world. So that's why kind of the reason I transferred from the previous, like more like in-person experience to at tech.
Before we move on to Fun Class, which you've just brought up,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to others in education or otherwise who are doing a startup? What
Mm,
advice would you give to build that positive relationship with another person or to recognize that this is possibly not the right path for us and
mm.
to look for someone else that might be more compatible?
Yeah, that's excellent question. So, in my three entrepreneur journeys, including Funclass, I have worked with different types of partners, like co-founders. So, I think something I've learned is that at the beginning of your collaboration, you really need to align the expectations. So, what do you expect from doing this business, right? Whether it's for creating the social value, which is something I prioritize, or it's mainly for making money. So, you really need to sit down and talk with each other very clearly. Why do you want to make this startup? What is your ultimate goal? So that I think that initial talk is super, super important. So that's why like with Fun Class, my third entrepreneur project, before I found my co-founder, I have trialed with at least 5 or 6 people to see whether we might
Mm.
work well with each other. So every time, yeah, we would again to have this chat about your expectations, your goals, the reason why you want to do a startup, and then we will do kind of like a 1 month trial period to see whether your working style is compatible with mine. So for me, I am kind of like a workaholic person since I have 3 jobs. You might already infer that. So yeah, this kind of personality should also be compatible like throughout the trial, so you can already have some sense about whether that person is for you or not. It's just like, finding a romantic partner. Yeah, whether
Yeah.
your ideas, your worldview align with each other, and whether your personality, your capabilities also are compatible. So I feel like these are very, very important factors to consider when you want to find a partner to start a venture with.
That is such good advice. I really like the idea of doing the month as well,
Yes.
just to see if it works. And you've got a get out clause then, haven't you? If it doesn't work,
Yeah.
you
Then
can
we just,
leave
yeah,
on
exactly.
good
Just move
terms.
on. You just move
Yeah.
on. Yeah, try to find another person. Yeah, it's really similar to finding a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
You never know, you might be going into the romantic market soon. Who knows? So then let's go back to Fun Class, obviously. Where did that idea originate from? Was it through your own tutoring or was it something else?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's exactly from my own experience, first-hand experience as an online tutor. So I tutor very young children, like aged 8 to 15 years old. And then previously I was using some meeting apps like Zoom, but in China, people use another one, which is called Volve or Tencent Meeting. But essentially, it's still a meeting app for mainly for companies to have meetings, right? So it's not optimal for online tutoring, especially when it comes to younger children, because their attention span is very limited. They might be multitasking or doing other things when they turn off the camera, and the teacher has no idea what the student's doing, right? And also for these platforms, they just don't have that much interaction going on to engage the kids. So that's why I found kind of my own pain point. And then I also interviewed some of my teacher friends whether they also share the same problem. And it turned out majority of the 90%, they said their biggest problem with online tutoring is student engagement and how to keep the students' attention. So that's why I found, oh, there is a gap in the market. And when it comes to other virtual class platforms, most of them, they're actually very generic. They target at any range of students. So there's no app or platform that's specific target as young children. So that's why I want to go into this niche to develop a platform platform that specifically caters to young children and the solution. How can we catch the students' attention, right? How can we keep them engaged? And our solution is gamification. So because children, they love playing games, and when they play games, they will just keep hooked, right? So we felt, oh, this is a powerful tool when it comes to online tutoring as well, because we already see, I know you, Jenna, you are a primary school teacher, and probably
Mhm.
you also use a lot of online games in your
Yes.
class, right, to engage your children. So that already proves the validity of using gamification in online tutoring. But when it comes to different platforms, well, there's no platform that is gamified. You have to use external resources to find a game to play with your students, right?
Yes,
So
you do
why
actually.
not? Yeah, why not creating a platform that is already integrated with gamification? So you don't need to use different multiple apps or platforms for your online tutoring. You can just use one to engage your students, use different games. And that's how I got this idea of Funclass. So as you see the name, fun class. So the idea is also to make online classes as fun as a game.
And when we think of the Chinese market working with Chinese children,
Yeah.
in my experience, it is very formal, the work in terms of
Mm.
worksheets and bookwork. Have you trialed it with Chinese students and
Yeah,
the response
absolutely.
been?
So since we launched the Fun Class, I've been using Fun Class every day with my students. And then they
Ah,
absolutely enjoy it. So just to give you a bit more background and also for our audience who don't know Fun Class. So Fun Class is kind of based on a pet development game. So every student, once they sign up, they will get an egg, like a pet egg. And then they can earn food and also experience points from the classes for their positive learning behavior, let's say answering a question very well or getting the correct answers, etc. So using this kind of positive learning behavior, the students can collect food points from the teacher. And then with these kind of rewards, they can feed the pet. They can evolve, they can level up their pet, just like a Tamagotchi game. I don't know whether Jenna, you have played
yes,
this
I do. I
Tamagotchi game.
remember them.
Exactly. So that is the basic concept of Fun Class. Students can raise, evolve a pet through Fun Class by earning the points. Yeah. So that's kind of the in an essence, in a summary of what Fun Class is and its differentiator from any other virtual classrooms.
And I'll leave all the details down below for your fun class in case anyone wants to try it or anything like that. I'm on the trial at the minute, and I think I'm attending your class next week that you're doing.
Yes, yes,
So
exactly.
I'm
I am
looking forward
excited for
to
you to trial it
it.
with your students.
Now you also have a social media presence in the Chinese
Yeah,
online
yeah.
space. When did you go online originally, and what sort of content did you originally post?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. So, my channel is mainly about language learning. So again, as I said, I am a learning nerd. So I wanted to share my own language learning experience and the strategies with more people in China. So that's why I became an online influencer in the first place. So it started maybe 5 years ago, but that time I was learning Spanish and I just completed all of the courses in my uni and I wanted to keep my proficiency in Spanish. So that's why the first few videos, I recorded them completely in Spanish. So I wrote the scripts and then I recorded the videos in Spanish. It's kind of a way for me to practice Spanish, but at the same time, I can also share some of my Spanish learning experience with more people around. And then later, as I started to learn other languages like French, Italian, and Japanese, I started to turn my videos into a multilingual video. So sometimes I might speak 6 languages in one video. So yeah,
Oh
that's
wow.
kind of my little presence on social medias.
And when did you start to notice it take off? At what point?
So I do have some videos with millions of views,
Oh wow.
especially the ones I talked about, like where I spoke 6 languages in one video. So I think maybe it's kind of like eye-catchy videos. Oh, people might be curious, but oh, this person speaks 6 languages. I want to take a look whether this person really speak them well. So I guess that's how, yeah, I started to take off from my social media.
And if we talk about the main type of social media,
Yeah.
it's known as, am I going to get this right or am I going to get this wrong? Little Red book?
Book,
Yes,
exactly.
that's the
That's it.
one.
Yeah, so Little Red Book is similar to Instagram. It's kind of the counterpart of Instagram
Mhm.
in China because, as maybe some of you don't know, in China it has the firewall, so it kind of bans the external apps like Facebook, Instagram, Google, etc. The China developed their own counterparts of these apps, and Little Red Book is a platform where anyone can post images, videos, etc. And right now, yeah, a lot of like a business are also promoting their services and the products on Little Red Book.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for sharing. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you. I've learned so much. I
Oh,
am going to
thank you so
share
much, Jenna.
I will share your fun class details, but just to finish off, is there anything else you want to let me know about what you're up to and where we can find you yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely contact me through LinkedIn. And maybe Jenna, you can also put my LinkedIn profile
Yes,
link
of course, no
under
problem.
the YouTube video. So, and
Yeah.
also if you are a primary school level tutor, so definitely feel free to try a fun class with your young students. And then I would say you will definitely be amazed by the experience and the students. Yeah, my students, the quietest ones are raising up their hands in class. It's kind of the first time I see the students, they're raising up their hands. So that's kind of the miracle you will see when you use Funclass.
Oh, lovely. Well, I'll leave all your details down below. And again, thank you once more. I've really appreciated you
Me
coming on to
too.
chat to me. If you liked today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and
Yay.
subscribe to see who else I'm chatting to. Thank you very much.